And then you can hear me?
Yep, loud and clear.
Okay. Okay.
I'm going to pause it again.
Pause it. She's going to do. There you go.
Very good.
9:01. We can call the meeting to order. Rachel will be here later. She has a tour, so she thinks I'm going to about 9:30, so we can go after that. So there were a number of, well, there were some applications that were sent in prior to that survey, and that's what I sent you. I figured, so at least it's apples to apples. We'll put it into a spreadsheet just like the survey would come in. So going forward, I asked for the Spirit Committee if people are adding or sending in applications, if they could also then fill out that survey, because most of the questions are in here, but there are a few extra, maybe more clarifying questions in the survey, like when is your estimated completion date and what phase of the project are you in? So I figured for this one we can determine if everything's answered in here, and if not, you know, we can take notes on.
And how are they advertising this? Because when they, after we met at the sheriff's department, I don't know the name of that meeting, but when Pete and I were there to be introduced,
yeah,
I went home and read the Winnebago County News, and it was in there, and we had agreed it was not going to be.
Yeah, so I think it went out. Well, so
went out and then it was taken down.
Went to, everything was directing to that Winnebago County homepage.
Correct.
And they took down that application and replaced it with that Spirit link.
Okay.
So anybody that's going to that homepage no longer can access the application. Okay. It all is that survey, okay, which is an online survey that everything just goes to the county directly. So, okay. So there are still probably people who had access to that application and those questions and stuff like that. Okay. So the first one, okay, maybe is it easier? So I have the framework of spending, and that kind of gives the guide of all things legacy, one-time funds. We want them to be geographically assorted. Right. And then that second page, the planning document, shows how much money is spent and unspent. So the first page, these are just county government projects, right? So audio visual upgrades to meeting rooms, that was, well, that's pending, I guess, board approval. Review conditions of 100 county owned facilities, that 300,000 that was approved by the board. So only about 20% of the 16.6 million has been approved for government projects. Okay. These descriptions are just kind of suggestions. They were ideas that John and his team had come up with where they thought maybe some of the money could be spent. And then that Spirit Commission that you guys were at is where we discuss projects. Okay. So then that's the second page is the government identified projects. So the first page is really led by the county. These are things that the county's doing, that the county runs and the county manages. Okay. The second page are efforts that maybe the county leads, but they could contract out. So if it was transitional housing, the county health department may kind of be a part of it, but somebody else outside of the government runs it. Okay. that was the thought with this second page, so a little under half of that has been spent already.
Okay.
So with these applications, they're coming from citizens and all different individuals. So for like the first one where it's talking about Menominee Park, that's really probably more of a Parks Department, city government, I suppose. So that maybe would be better served on that first, under that first category of county government projects. But that's all I'm trying to do is kind of categorize everything so we can kind of put them in some order. So if there are a number, like the Wywash Trail is in here, well, I think that's the county that's dealing with that.
Sure.
So then we'll go to the Parks Department, the head of the Parks Department, and talk to him. Is this appropriate? Do you want this? What do we do with this? Where should we?
And who responds to these people? Is that gonna be you?
No, this goes to this is a county email, so I think it might be the executive's office that is responding to them. Thank you, we received your suggestion. Now these three are they're just ideas, so I think that we can forward them on, but then the supervisors maybe in those areas would be interested to know that this is what individuals are looking for in their community.
Sure. Yep.
But then some of these that are like full-blown kind of applications might have some indications where we may want to talk to aging and disability or
sure
human health and human services or something like that. Working spreadsheets.
Could it be worth going through these 13 and just putting them in two different buckets? One bucket is for somebody else to manage, and another bucket that it fits the framework that the Spirit Fund is spending.
Yeah, I don't know how to categorize these. That's why I thought it might be great to get your grades on
inbox and outbox,
right?
All 13 of these, and then the one that remained, we could look at some type of scoring based on the overarching requirements.
Yeah, does it fit within the requirements? So if there's something that's going to be built in Fond du Lac or in Fond du Lac County, obviously it's not going to fit in this category.
Yeah.
So as long as it really is within the parameters of this document that the county board had already voted on and approved. So the first 1 through 3, probably we can just put in the side pile for. They're all kind of park related, yes, but they're really just anecdotal. This is a cool idea. So that might just be.
They're good ideas.
Yeah. But what's the cost?
Right.
What's,
it's not a proposal.
Right. But I did put them on this sheet. And then we go to 4. So this request, if they had, a budget on the item or the things that they were going to be purchasing, I included it, but I didn't include like their audit in their organizational budget, just because I didn't think it was pertinent necessarily.
Right.
Now, did we ever get reconciliation on this Supervisor Dowling's ask, that funds not be used for nonprofit entity? I mean, this would.
Yeah, so that was corporate counsel. So originally this 50-50 document was broken down into 25% government, 50% government identified, and 25% solely community run.
Yeah.
Or like broadband, economic development, and nonprofit type of organizations. So the county board voted to disband that 25% and put it all in the county government project. So that's why it's a 50-50 split.
Yeah.
But it was just, the only thing that they voted on was to remove that, to take out that 25% and put that funding in here, because there were no specific projects that were, it was just ideas on how to go.
So this would be eligible.
Nonprofits and community-based are eligible?
They are,
Okay.
as long as they are government identified projects. Well, and eligible is, we can propose it, but it ultimately has to go to the county supervisors to determine if that's something that the county is going to spend money for. So that is why we asked if they receive any type of government funding or Winnebago County funding, because there are hundreds of contracts that the county has with nonprofits to do the work.
Yeah.
So community clothes closet, it looks like does not get any government, any Winnebago County. As far as I understand, there's no contract. So that might be the,
And that's what's
that
gonna
might
be
be another
necessary for them to
file.
be.
I don't know, it's very vague. If the county government identified, so if the government identifies that it is an essential service that's needed, they could vote to fund it, or
So like number 4, how do we determine if it's eligible? What's the criteria we use to determine that?
well, the criteria that we have is it gonna have a lasting?
No, I mean, just with regard to this whole nonprofit entity, government, it's like it almost like has to be a government.
According to corporate counsel at that last spirit meeting,
Yeah.
she said that was not the motion. The motion was just to get rid of that community project. So it didn't eliminate nonprofits from applying or being approved or funded,
Okay.
as long as the county government identified it as a project that was essential or needed.
So how do we know this is a government identified project?
They would have to get money if I'm.
Well, the spirit committee would vote, and the supervisors would vote and say, yes, we identified this as a project. It really is up to the county supervisors to identify.
Oh, so it doesn't have to be posed by them. I was thinking
It does not.
Okay,
It cannot.
okay. It just ultimately needs to be approved by them.
Correct.
Okay.
So the spirit commission was really just trying to divvy up the categories to make it a little easier, so that they could say, okay, community projects, here's how much we're spending in that bucket. Strictly for government, this is how much we're spending in that bucket. So the one-time funds piece is a little bit of a challenge in my mind, how to define that.
Yeah, it'd almost be they're requesting money for a project that has a begin date and an end date.
Yeah,
I mean, because the clothes closet will continue on.
Correct.
It's not like to buy a vehicle to do that, they want to add, I think she said 14 more events. And they need money to do that.
But they did receive ARPA funds, if they look on page 3. From 21, they got $25,000 in ARPA funds.
Oh yeah, they didn't say who that was from. That was the question that I had.
But doesn't the county control all the ARPA funds?
The county only controls the county ARPA funds. Every city got ARPA funds, every municipality, or that were eligible, whether they accepted them or not. So because community clothes closet, they're located in Menasha, so if Menasha could have given them, if they go into Allegheny County could have, it could be the city of Oshkosh. So maybe that's one of the questions.
I think that is one of the reasons that they have this big ask.
Mhm.
Because their point is it's ongoing, but it's a one-time ask.
Mm-hmm. I don't exactly know what they're spending the money on, if it's clothes, gas.
It's a traveling closet.
Yeah, it already exists.
Yes.
So is it operational that they're asking for? Are they asking for 70,000 to buy it?
It doesn't really say that they do have
Yeah.
one, staffing is probably a big part of it because there's one full-time and 8 part-time staff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they've had to answer that.
That's why we have the survey, because the survey asks a little more detail, like what is the thing that this would fund?
Sure, they've had to ask because I know the community foundation
Oh, sure.
would require that, so would KC.
Although those could just be for. Those could just be for general operations.
Inventory cost. It's inventory they're looking for. Because if you look at the last page, the 145, 130, I don't know how they get from 147. I don't know how they come up with their 143, 930 as opposed to 145. 130 is the total estimated cost, but it looks like it's to purchase clothing for inventory. It's unclear. But they're coming back. They're gonna have to come back every year unless they have some way to sustain this into the future. Looks like inventory. Those are the closest numbers, even though they don't match.
Yeah.
But with the numbers they've presented, that's just the band. What bucket is this going in? A nonprofit bucket, or don't we want to
I
do?
don't think that, I think it's. That there's the challenge.
A
I
community
don't
need
know.
bucket?
Does it
Because
fit?
there's-
Does it fit? I mean, it is, they're asking just for a one time, but
But the question is,
and does it create a lasting?
correct. But if it looks like a one-time fund, right?
Well, it's a one time ask.
It's a one-time ask, which I question, but,
And it,
projects should be generally capital in nature, revolving funds or endowments. Under the one-time funds. I don't see their sustainability planning on this.
It seems like if they got the money, it would not improve the quality of life of our community for years to come.
No,
It's just a,
this is a immediate need.
yeah,
It's more of a community impact,
mhm,
I mean, it is a one.
because it's a it's, the ask is a one-time ask, but you look at their budget and it can't be a one-time ask.
No, it's an ongoing.
It's
need.
an ongoing need.
Yeah.
The sustainability planning is, missing here.
okay,
So it doesn't fit the legacy requirement. I like categorizing.
mhm,
It also doesn't fit the one-time fund
Yeah, it doesn't fit one time. fund.
or sustainability plan. I don't see it. If those are our benchmarks,
Yeah.
then we're missing that in this.
so I'll just put that in the notes.
It might be the easiest way to do this.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Cause this is
Is-
how we're reading out,
is to
according to
say-
this, does it
Yeah.
fit? Yeah,
And could we have a check mark for each one of these? And then you could, on the spreadsheet in my mind, I
mhm,
see a check mark for, is it hitting these or missing them? However you want to do it, the negative or the positive.
yeah.
Does that sound
Oh,
reasonable?
yeah. I mean, that's what we're kind of mentally doing. It'd be good to be able to document it that way.
Right,
Then, here are the criteria.
and instead of
It met
saying
these
which
and-
ones it meets, we could say which ones it doesn't.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, like, we could get bogged down in the minutia here.
Yeah.
sure,
Yeah, so it doesn't meet legacy, one-time funds.
Or sustainability,
Yeah,
because it certainly does, meet some of the, like an emergency response. If you broaden that
yeah.
to clothing. So I think that's a bucket of, that doesn't fit,
okay.
yes?
Yeah, I agree.
Mhm. So basically, this type of spreadsheet is what I'll present to the supervisors. Here's all the asks that came in. This
Yep.
is, kind of condense it, but they can still see everything. And here's what we, according to this one did not feel like. And then they can determine from there.
Yeah,
All this I'm bringing to the Spirit Commission meeting for them to review, to see if we're doing basically kind of what they had hoped we would do.
I mean, I, based on our interpretation of the application, it does not meet these
Mhm.
criteria.
Okay.
And the person who presented it might be able to say, no, here's why it does, but based on what they submitted, we can't discern that.
I'm a sticky note person, Peter and Julie, so.
Okay, yeah, no, I was just right on the page.
That's why I put them over there.
Thank you.
Yeah, I see it looking like this, and then it would be.
So I can just add categories.
Legacy,
Let's see.
one time. Funds, geographic. And opportunities. I think everybody, if everybody has this, they'll know what you're talking about. It's actually match. It's
The way
match.
this is, yeah, the way this is worded is skewed from how you and I, and we
Right.
maybe think this, basically, the essence of the enhancing funding opportunities was ARPA should not be fully funding a project. We want to make sure that it is funded through other things.
I think the word match in there is very
That's what gets,
misleading.
it is, yeah. And
So,
that's government, the way.
Call it
the
other
government-
funds,
Yeah,
because that's really what they're looking for.
yeah,
Matches misleading.
correct. We do have another, is this funded by others? Or I mean, how else will this project be funded? That
Sure.
is one of the questions, but then I'll just put some notes.
I think that that's it's a good way to start.
Like this next one does meet. It's to provide 10 affordable homes. Which would be for years to come. It would be a one-time, because they're not asking for ongoing home ownership.
And it is a capital, like you could make the argument that it's capital.
Yeah. I don't know what geographies that have covered northern Winnebago County.
They have here. They serve all.
Oh, here,
county.
yeah, the city of Appleton,
Yeah.
Nashua, and Neenah.
Yeah.
Cox Crossing.
But they did qualify that of the 351 served annually, 37% of them are in Winnebago County.
And so the 10 house, if they're going to build 10 houses, they have to make sure that it's in Winnebago County.
Yeah.
And not that it has to necessarily be a project has to be scattered throughout Winnebago County. The supervisors just want to make sure that this wasn't super Oshkosh centric or one location centric, so. And then it looks like ongoing maintenance really would be at the responsibility of the homeowner.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like they get HUD money.
Yep, I saw that.
So you get funding from us or others.
Yep. And HUD is government.
I don't know if they receive anything from the county directly. I don't know. Well, HUD is federal, but I don't know if that's considered a county. That's considered county money, or if that is just state, or if it's federal. So that could be a question, but.
This one seems like it fits.
It sure does.
Yeah.
The proposal, the Spirit Fund represents 21% of the total budget.
we just need to make sure that whatever funds that go towards this is spent in Winnebago, not out of the
Correct. Or other counties.
or other counties, yeah.
But it seems like they've done a very good job of identifying what is Winnebago. Yes, if they know where they know where the 10 homes are going to go, that would go a long way to,
Yeah,
um,
I wonder if they. Or if this is just this is what we would like, if we had funding, this is where we would put it.
Is any of Appleton in Winnebago?
There's a small
very
portion,
Oh,
a
okay.
really small portion of
Okay.
Appleton that isn't within Winnebago County.
Yeah. As they specify, it will be Winnebago County locations, so
Mhm.
we do specify that.
But then the completion date would be to be determined.
it says completion date December 31st, 2026.
Because that's the date, well, this application agree, this is the agreement that the Spirit Commission and the county supervisors, these are the requirements.
This is not from them.
No,
Okay.
those are the requirements that
Got
they
it.
agree that,
Got it.
so they would have 10 houses, at least the funding spent for those homes by December 31st. Oh, 500 is what they're requesting.
Yes.
Okay. Oh,
No, fine.
and number 6.
Okay, so this bucket is moving forward, right?
Yeah, five hits the requirements.
Yeah.
So number 6, I couldn't exactly identify what they're asking for.
Yeah, you describe a lot about what they do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just design improvements. It's a referral site, so it's the way I read it was to upgrade, create innovative features to their service directory.
It's their website.
Yeah, but not like what?
Making the case that they've seen an increase and you can only assume, I can only assume at this point that their website can't handle it.
That's what I didn't get out of here. Is it because the website is essentially crashing because of too much use, or they want to add additional
It's not clear.
No. to me,
Yeah, it says we are
increased-
requesting funding to meet this increased demand with new innovative features on the website.
Well, they certainly have made their case to quite a few other funders. City of Appleton, Allegheny County,
And that's,
MCA and Data Care.
this one, I wasn't. It's this. I'll show you.
Number 3. They've got some great pledges. I just don't know that they've made their case here on paper.
This read like this is an operational request.
Yeah,
To
it feels
me.
ongoing. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's really,
maybe.
I mean,
Well, it could be considered a legacy project. I'm not sure. I think we need to ask more questions before we dismiss this one, because it looks like a legacy project to me.
yeah, but
I know the need is there, and they've made their case to some pretty big funding.
yeah. Do you think it's a one-time request?
I think that's where is this operational or are they doing a thing?
Well, if it's IT, they should be able to do it all, but have they actually said that?
Yeah, I think on this one, we just need some more information. What is the,
Right.
where would the funds specifically be used?
The last page is the project. It's an annual maintenance fee, which I don't know how they're gonna cover in subsequent years.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. It's not a one.
Graphic design, content creation, existing contact and R&D could probably be considered, but the annual maintenance fee is, I don't see how they're gonna
That'd be,
sustain
that, the annual maintenance fee should not be paid for with these funds, but,
it. Correct.
but content creation and,
The rest of it
yeah,
could
it
be.
could be, yeah,
Mhm.
that would fit.
I think if you
So
take out the annual maintenance fee, how much are they asking for?
So that maybe this one is then. When it gets to the Spirit Commission, maybe it's. If they're saying 90,000 is the annual maintenance fee.
I think so, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Nice to meet you. Hi, Rachel.
Rachel's been in all the emails, so I just feel like you guys all know each other.
So if we go to page 2, what they're requesting is $30,000 a year over 3 years.
Those are, yeah, I'm going to clear
The
this.
project is 180. So it looks to me like they're asking, and this is only an assumption, if they're asking for 90. If they're doing the design, creation, content, and R&D, that's a one-time shot. So it looks like they're asking for a third of their website maintenance fee for 3 years.
Well, I don't know, the rest of it adds up to 90 as well, the graphic design, original content creation.
But that over 3 years, that's what I don't see.
Oh, I see.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Estimated total project cost is 180. Is that but I think that's what's on that last page.
On page 6, right?
Yeah, because it says project budget 2024 to 2026 at the top. So
Okay,
they plan to spend 90 over 3 years on graphic design. So as long as they're using the money for those 4 items and not the maintenance fee,
correct,
then it would fit.
correct.
Yeah.
And that's a reportability. function, but then circling back and reporting every year what they use the funds on.
Yeah.
It's a, which column are you gonna put it in?
And that might be something that then the Spirit Commission, if they determine that this would be appropriate use of the ARPA funds, that maybe they would say, okay, we're not gonna fund the full. I'm sorry,
90.
what's the, yeah, maybe not the full 90, because we don't want any of this to go to maintenance fee, we'll
Yeah.
scale back. That's for the,
But then,
that's for the Spirit Commission to determine. We're just trying to kind of determine
But they're-
if it's within.
are they looking to roll this money out right away and, or are they willing to do 3-year commitments? I thought they wanted to roll it out right away.
It, as long as it's spent by December 26th, so I think they are okay with doing rolling, because
Okay.
there were a couple other ones that were in phases.
Sure, okay.
As long as it can be spent.
Well, that I would think is a could move forward.
Yeah,
with explanation.
Yeah, my thought is that it fits the requirements if and only if the money's not used for the maintenance fee. You agree with that, Dave?
I do. Want to hear about what we're doing?
Yes.
Yeah, that would be great.
So. Oh, here.
This stuff.
Mhm. So those are the parameters.
Okay.
If you want to start reading number 7, then you can kind of explain. So those are the parameters that the county supervisors had voted on that would be appropriate use of ARPA Spirit funding. So basically those top 4 buckets, does it have a legacy, long-term impact? Is it really a one-time funding request? Does it fit within, well, first Winnebago County, and that essentially we want to make sure that this money is not just Oshkosh centric, that it is for the outliers of the county, and that there's other funding. So those are really kind of the only parameters that the supervisors set for us to use. So then we're kind of it feels like the framework is what we're working off of rather than
These first
Yes.
expertise.
Yeah.
So this can be put on hold for now,
Okay.
for essentially this.
Okay.
We're not looking at the amounts as much as do these applications fit, and
Okay.
then move forward.
Yeah, so then I'm taking notes in that spreadsheet to say, based on what they submitted, this does or does not feel like it fits those 4
Requirements.
categories
Okay.
that have been put forward by the supervisors.
Yep, okay.
And so far, the first 3 we said really doesn't fit. I mean, they're just ideas, they're not really proposals. So,
Okay.
And
They
those
need
are
to
being
be-
sent to the Parks Department for
Yeah.
their consideration.
you know, and then they can follow up.
So those are really a government function. So they would pretty much probably come out of this. These are ones that we don't feel that we can make any kind of recommendation on because there isn't quite enough information.
It's not
And that
really
was
an
asked
ask, it's an idea.
Mhm.
And then number 4, we said doesn't meet the legacy requirements, the one-time fund or sustainability.
Okay.
5, we feel like fits, and 6, we feel like it fits as long as they don't use it for the maintenance.
Would it qualify, yeah.
And now we're on number 7.
Okay.
So it looks like they're looking for.
$500,000
Over 2 million. Let's go into this expansion project to create a much needed living space.
It does look like Winnebago County contracts
Yes, we do.
through that.
Yeah.
So this enhancing funding opportunities, it does meet that because they're saying that it's the intention that the spirit funds would be used as a matching proposal or to spark other funding opportunities. So that would be a check mark there.
Yeah. It seems like it fits legacy. It does seem like it's a one-time fund.
Yeah.
Now, what about the geographic disbursement? What areas do they serve?
Only Winnebago County.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
No, it looks like it's more than Winnebago. That's my,
What areas of the county will the project serve? All of Winnebago County because it is.
it does, but how many individuals does this project serve annually? 40 to 50 within Winnebago, 10 to 30 would be Winnebago County residents. So I think it serves anyone, anywhere. So somebody from outside the county could use their services in this program. And they anticipate
A higher percentage coming from Winnebago,
It's located in Winnebago.
right? Which
Yeah.
makes sense.
yes.
Yeah.
Which is also why then, of course, or Winnebago County, our funds aren't that money shouldn't fund the whole project, should be a portion of it.
Correct, which it is.
yeah,
500 out of 2.
the 25%.
Yeah.
So, and they serve, 25 on the low end, and
I think this one can go forward.
I think so too.
Okay.
Definitely.
Because we're just vetting these and then they go elsewhere for.
And then I'm just doing kind of red, yellow, green. So number 8. Nothing else is coming out of that town, so that's. at
Correct,
least a
they're
plus.
basically asking for half of the total estimated. cost.
Mhm.
And it would be legacy,
Mhm.
looks like it would be one time. Certainly hits the geographic.
Yeah. What about subsequent funding? Where do they get the rest of funding from?
That's one question.
Page 3, they've got
Okay.
kind of a list.
They have donors.
Yeah, some
Donors,
foundations, some
and some sale, and so they raise some. So it seems like it fits the 4 requirements. Yeah.
To me,
Yeah.
Yes.
and they maybe work with ADRC. So there's that government.
And I would think that, this would apply, this would have a chance of moving forward if they went to the community foundation or something like that, because it's a community impact. So if they're looking for ideas, that would be a community impact grant that I think would have a chance.
All of these applications are so different.
Yeah, they do.
They do. So that's why also
I'm looking at this one and
I
I'm
know.
like, this is nothing like the other one
Right?
at all.
Which one doesn't fit?
Like,
Right.
this is like not even,
It's like,
Which is why I wanted that, let's do a survey, so everybody has to answer, so that instead of write a story.
Yeah.
Just,
yeah.
does
what's your
it,
project?
is it, what is it, how
like,
much is
bottom
it?
line, it's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which,
What are you gonna do?
yeah, that's all we wanna know.
Yeah,
So they didn't do that then? They just.
That's what
They-
they submitted. They
Actually, almost had to, because the Oshkosh Area Community Foundation gave them 22,390.
There
so
must be.
There is a full application somewhere,
Mhm.
but we didn't get it.
Um,
I don't know if this is part of what we're doing, but I think that this one, I would think we'd go back and say, you need to give us.
yeah, we
full
need
application.
more
Yeah.
information. Well, I can ask that they fill out the survey, because
Yeah.
that really would answer the question.
Correct, because if OACF gave them money, and the Community Development Block Grant gave them money, they have a full application, so we just don't have it. Do we have a more information needed plan
Mhm.
or a survey, actually?
yeah, it needs to fill out survey, and we need the application.
Well, right now, we're just taking surveys, because we aren't.
Oh, that's right, with the.
Right, yeah.
I forgot.
So
You're-
originally, the application went out, but there were things like that came in, or these, like, community suggestions, which are great, but it's not enough information. So that's why we pivoted to that survey, to be like, okay, who's leading it?
Yeah.
Who do you look, because even for the community ones, is there a group of community members? Like the Jones Park, they had
Yeah.
a group together that was working together? Or are these just individuals who think this would be a cool idea?
Sure.
There isn't enough information to determine.
Yeah.
Where they are
Yeah.
in there, so.
If they could convince the Parks Department, the Parks
Sure.
Department would be.
Right. So that's how we're. And going forward, hopefully then just those surveys that we filled out,
Okay.
so. Purchase.
It's very similar to Nova, but it's for women.
Mhm. Well. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think it offers men and family.
And then
Yeah,
Yeah, it says 38 beds. for men,
opened
too.
its first.
yeah.
Mhm.
It looks like it's Oshkosh only, but that's not, I mean, that's not necessarily a problem, right? I mean,
Well,
I mean,
looks like
but
it
it serves
serves
all
all
of it,
Winnebago
yeah, it's just
County.
located in Oshkosh.
Right, and there's some of the challenge, I mean. The city of Oshkosh has. All
Yeah.
the services right here, so if somebody is going for services, if it's
So
housed in.
it will
Winnebago,
impact different geographic areas of the county, even though it's just. in
yeah,
Oshkosh.
that's what I was hoping to see, how they could. Describe who they serve.
Yeah, they just say.
Any county residents, but.
We could have
100%
some
within
statistics,
Winnebago.
some demographics or something. Cause it feels legacy, it feels one time.
Yep.
That they do have matching funds, it's just a
Mhm.
question of. How broad their net actually serves for
Sure.
the county.
And it could be their service areas, Winnebago County, and there's another organization that takes a different county, so.
Yeah. So do we say it fits requirements pending clarification of geographic support or something?
Well, if it just services Oshkosh,
That's not necessarily a knockout, is it?
no, it's not, because
Yeah.
we just said yes
Yeah.
to the honor.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, true.
It's not everything has to be in Oshkosh. They want
Yeah.
funds to go elsewhere. in
Right, but
Winnebago
just
County.
because it's only Oshkosh wouldn't be a
Right.
knockout. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. So it fits the requirements.
And if you have this, maybe just the way they stated it, that it's people in Winnebago County and everybody they serve is in Oshkosh. Those two things
Because
are
it's
true,
housed
but
here.
it doesn't mean they didn't come from other areas of Winnebago County,
Sure, sure.
right?
Yep.
So that would be a clarification question that might help their application go farther.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so.
I mean, it does say the facility will serve residents from across the county.
Right, but I think the way they interpreted the question is yes, it's all in Oshkosh,
Yeah,
because that's where it's located.
yeah.
So it fits requirements, we just need some clarity on the breadth of the geographic dispersal.
Where they come from.
Okay, good. Okay.
11 is another one where, well,
Need
it's
a survey.
housed here. There. It's housed here. Do people from other parts of the county because they work here in Oshkosh
I'm sure they could,
utilize?
that could be true.
Yeah, that's.
We'll say almost 100% of kids and families are located within Winnebago County.
Mhm. With the majority, nothing from Oshkosh.
Yeah, we should.
Make it be 100% Oshkosh and still all be Winnebago
Winnebago
County.
County,
Yeah,
True.
I mean, but they could be coming, somebody said, from other locations because they're coming to work here, so they could come from Amro, Eureka,
yeah.
Waukau.
So it's a building project.
Yeah.
So it really is yes one time.
Yeah, it's got a beginning and an
It's
end.
definitely legacy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Any other questions or photos?
It's, I mean, I just wonder if these requirements are gonna be restrictive enough to be able to, weed out. I guess that's gonna be for the supervisor.
That's for the supervisors, and there's a lot of money on the table.
Right, yeah.
But
So far, I don't see enough to,
take it out.
yeah. I'd say this one goes forward, the Y is a great thing.
Well,
They've
yeah,
got their act together.
earlier, healthcare shortage.
Yep.
Yeah,
So then 12 and 13, this is one that
let's go together.
Yeah, they sent two separate applications. I feel like the expansion is one project. But they broke it down by two different programs.
Is there 13 of them stapled together?
Yeah, it is. If you scroll a couple pages forward, you have the 13 stapled.
Yeah, I
got it.
added it kind of all together. And a lot of the other information was redundant, so.
Right.
This is also, the parameters were requested amount between 50 and 500. And if the request was over 500, then you have to make a compelling case on why. Essentially, they're talking about 1.5 million.
For the community center?
Oh, yeah, 7.
Well, so
for
it's
each, yeah.
two,
Oh, okay. For
Yeah.
each project, they're asking 750.
yes.
Okay.
I don't, this is the thing, is the expansion the project?
Yes.
Or is I think they're trying to say the programs are different projects, which to me, I
That
feel
would
like
be
it's,
ongoing. It would be programs aren't one time,
right.
but the
So,
expansion is.
yes, so in my brain,
Yeah.
this was one asked for 1.5.
Because the community center is part of the expansion.
Yes, because the expansion is 18 million.
I personally would keep
Altogether.
them separate. Because it is two separate asks.
Yeah.
They recognize the fact that one is capital and one is programming.
Yeah, I
Maybe-
would say the capital fits the programming doesn't.
Correct.
The capital is going to be a one-time program.
And I'm sure that they would be pleased if one or both.
Yeah.
Go through. I'm actually fairly impressed by that, by the zip code state list. Four seven is Winchester, 5-6 is Nina, 6-3 is Alamo.
Yes, spreadsheet, I looked each one at Oshkosh, Wayne County, Pickett, Waukesha, around,
Yep.
Fox, and Larson.
I think this actually has legs. I keep them separate.
Which one's the building, and which one's the programs?
So,
Community center is 12, it looks like.
yeah, and the community center is part
Oh.
of, I mean, it's part of their
I got you.
expansion.
Yeah,
So I
were
don't,
you just there?
I was.
Is it really wonderful?
I just gotta, yeah, well, I mean, it's still coming along, but it's amazing. It's
I was,
very cool.
yeah, I was on the community foundation board when they came and pitched for their support and.
Yeah.
Man, just the presentation itself.
Yeah.
was phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of work going on. I was like, it's fun watching all the construction happen, and they have their green space done, which is
Right.
turf, so the kids can be outside and play.
I know, it's
Already, so yeah, it looks great.
a fantastic project.
Yes,
And they have quite the impressive list of support.
they do, yeah.
So the question will be posed, since they have so much community support. Is this something that ARPA funding is needed?
I believe it is,
I mean, there's still
because
like
they
2
have,
million.
there's still
Yeah.
2 million outstanding that they need to finish this up. And they've tapped their donors to over $5 million.
Mhm.
And I think I think it qualifies. If I was a voting person, I would probably say yes to it.
Yeah, I would say it also qualifies.
Don't know that they'll get a whole lot more out of their donors.
Using the application.
Yes,
So here's the problem. I've never been through it. Peter, you've
No.
never been through it. When I read the application, I don't
you're not moved.
know. Not to give an extra 350,000.
Well, they're the ones that have to justify
Right.
that. I mean, they're asking for 750, but if they got 500, I don't think they'd cry.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's up to them to justify the
Yeah.
extra 250.
And we're just making sure it follows the requirements,
Right.
which it does,
It
in my
does.
mind.
It does.
Yeah, that's-
Well,
Yeah,
So if the
That's
board,
why I'm
yeah, if the
asking.
board or the commission is
it's
gonna
hard,
say.
because you've been through, so that's why I wanna hear.
no, I feel like number 12, it's legacy, it's one time.
Okay.
Geographic,
And 13,
it's matching, but 13 is
Yeah.
for programming, so it doesn't feel like
Okay.
it fits the one time.
okay,
The 12 fits, 13 doesn't.
so. 1, 2, 3 were communities, so those. I can find out if they had been connected with the Parks Department or anybody, or if it was just, thank you for your submission. Because I'm not sure what happened with 1, 2, 3 yet, what the response was. And then number 9, we had some extra questions, that was one.
Yeah.
That we need the survey.
Yeah, certainly.
Going back to 13, the one-time funds, the future cost should be mitigated as much as possible. I think that. I don't think you have to kick it out, but I think that would be a question because it still fits legacy, geographic, and then needs some funding. And put the onus back on the voting members, which is the board, to decide whether or not it's gonna go through.
yeah, I mean, really, that's for all of them, it comes down to that.
Yeah, so I just have, for one time, I just put in feels programmatic. So that's just kind of, this is, I'm trying to be very neutral, this is how we're viewing what they
They've
gave
been
us.
reviewed once.
Yeah.
By us.
Yep,
Plus, there's a little, I don't know, putting in 2 applications like that. And
And casting their net.
you know,
the potential for the
I don't think
potential.
so.
I feel like they should have just
I mean, like-
included that as part of it,
Yeah.
because it, I don't know,
It's like,
I would agree, that is a little bit,
it's like you got a company requirement, you can't spend over $5,000 and split your project up
Right.
for a small project.
Yeah.
It's like, it just doesn't feel right to me.
they're clearly wanting money. How many
They're
applications?
being
they put in,
creative,
Yeah,
yeah, right.
and you gotta give it to them.
Yeah.
For the children.
Yeah.
Yeah, for projects that are outside of government function, there might be $6 to $8 million. So that's also the reason why we said within this range, because we want to make sure that the money is spread out between lots of different programs. And so as far as Spirit Commission. Okay.
I do have a question about our role. I mean, the rollout of this has not been without issue.
Yep.
So I'm thinking about the new, I'm supposed to be, Winnebago. Would it be appropriate, for me to go to the new, village administrator and say, do you know about this?
The
Should we-
village administrator absolutely should, because, they received the 145,000 from so each municipality within Winnebago County, they took 3 million and divided it up between all the municipalities. So they received basically this framework, this document, and then whatever John sent them to say that they have their 145. So then each municipality can spend that 145 as long as it kind of fits within this framework. They can determine how to spend that.
But they can ask for more, or they
They-
can encourage.
They can,
Sure.
because and maybe if there's something specific to the government funding, I mean, there is more to be spent, and
Sure.
because only 20% had done.
Right.
So, yeah, municipalities could be encouraged by,
Or if they know of
Other
entities within
projects.
their
yes,
area,
We'll ask you Kate's question maybe a little bit different. What stakeholder engagement should we be doing?
there you go, thank you.
yeah,
You know, I mean, if we're this 4 citizen panel representing Winnebago County,
Thank you.
should we be connecting with our constituents,
Yes.
if you will, to say, hey, here's
Do you
what we've
know
done
of
so
this?
far, yeah, right, yeah.
Take
You know about it,
There's a deadline.
yeah,
Right.
here's what we're, you know, and,
This is how you move on it.
Yeah,
you know,
what is the deadline now?
but it'd be good if we had,
August 4th.
yeah.
August 4th.
Oh, that's like next week.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
And if all the
Well,
money's not gone,
2
then what?
weeks. Well, no, that's just for the project. That's just for the project survey submission. That's just because,
That's the,
yeah, that's just the county supervisors
that's really bad.
saying, we're gonna spend it, we're not gonna spend it, hurry up and spend it, slow down and spend it.
So
So
they could extend that beyond the 4th?
all these are just to get a feel for what projects are out in the community that are not necessarily focused on strictly government. So these are us trying to figure out what community projects are happening, who might be requesting money.
The
what
first thought that,
looks like.
yeah, the first thought that comes to mind is the person who stood up about pickleball. I don't see a pickleball here.
Mhm.
The reason I question is, they put the application up, they took it down, and now they're doing this,
Mhm.
and the deadline is like, and it's summer.
Mhm.
Everybody guards their summer very close,
Well, and this is a week that is historically, people are not
are not even around.
working.
Mhm.
So if you're not there to, or your team is not aware and.
Well, and that's why it changed to, this is too arduous, this is too much, this takes an executive director, a grant writer,
Yeah.
somebody, that's why that survey is, what's the range you're asking
Yeah.
for? What's the blah, 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 it's much more, just conceptual. It's
Yeah,
not hard, here's our budget, here's our audits. When people have been asking me, I've been saying, I'm not reviewing, because some people have said, hey, can you take a look at my application?
Oh, no, I wouldn't.
yeah,
I've
yeah,
turned them down.
right,
And I've just said basically what we keep saying over and over, we're just trying to get a feel for what the projects are throughout
Yeah.
the community to be able to present it to the supervisors.
Mm.
Because, the money, I don't even know exactly when the money was received, maybe sometime in 2021. So it's been, what's going on? Where's this commission? What's the commission doing? How are we spending this? Hurry up and spend it.
Hurry up and spend it, but
And-
now we have.
But now the
Now
challenge
we
is
have
when
a
we try to
2-week
hurry up,
window.
yes, when we try to hurry up and spend it. So this is not just to spend, this is just to, because there's been such a polarized, we are absolutely not funding any nonprofit organizations. And we are absolutely funding nonprofit organizations
Right.
by the county supervisors. So that's why it's, all right, let's just, everybody take a break. We'll get a feel for what requests are coming out there, because I think there's this perception that nonprofits are these little, out of my home projects.
Which is not.
Right, so that we can take this and show how, this is how it's gonna help the community. It's not lining somebody's pocket. It's not going to, a political organization or anything like that. This is how it's helping the residents of Winnebago County. Because the government piece of it in the Spirit Commission, the supervisors are pretty well versed on where the needs are within the county,
Sure.
but as far as what the needs are for the people and the betterment of our environment, they were kind of like, well, we're not exactly sure. So that's why they pulled this panel together. So we can be the ones to help do this type of thing. And so
But
I think
I don't
it's
know.
appropriate to make sure that people know that it's out there. So we have a funders. We're part of a funders group from Green Bay to Fond du Lac. So I sent this information to them and said, please encourage anybody that's asking to fill out the survey, that it's specific for Winnebago County. So US Venture probably, maybe, because they do serve some of Winnebago County, may have some people going to them asking for funding for things. So I've spread it that way internally through the programs that we at United We work with. And then it's been in the paper, multiple different ways throughout Elmero and at least the Herald. I'm not sure about the other surrounding areas. So
I guess.
I agree, it's been a hot mess.
My concern is the timeline now, because it's gone on for so long, and now we want.
This is not gonna be the end all be all.
Okay.
This is not gonna, it can't be, this can't be, sorry, you missed the deadline.
Right.
But really, the focus in my mind of this is to try to get the supervisors on the same page. Because right now it feels like there are supervisors that are saying, absolutely not, we are putting this all into, you know, inside within the government. But the spirit of ARPA was supposed to be helping the community and lost revenue and all these, you know, different things. We saw the disparity in broadband, people who lived out in the country or rural areas couldn't even go to school. So all I see this doing is maybe just educating on how we can do both. We can serve the government function and we can serve the community with through, instead of here, Kate, here's some money. We want to go through a program. I don't think it's great to, it was brought up for broadband. Well, Kate wants broadband, so we're going to give her some money. I don't agree with that.
No.
I think it needs to be going through an organization that can help that. So whether it's Go EDC or whatever to get broadband out, that makes sense to be, not giving Kate a check, giving Pete a check, giving. So
I'm the stakeholder. I mean, are the people that we should be in? I mean, because I feel like I was asked by the city administrators of Needham and Asha and Bergstroms to sit in on this.
So I think we
want to be able to go back to them and say, but I'd want to make sure whatever I tell them is what you all are saying as well. And Beth,
I'm
something that
encouraging
you
people to, if you have a project, if you have something that you are thinking of asking, you have to go.
Sorry, I have a 10:30.
Go ahead. Yep. You're busy, baby.
Yeah. Well, all of a sudden I was like, okay, we're gonna work these meetings in, so I apologize.
Thank you.
Nice
to meet you.
Yes, you too, and next Monday, we're back here.
Yep,
Okay.
assuming we have more to go on. So there were
Okay.
no surveys this time. Nobody had filled out the surveys. This is all that we had received. So hopefully next time there'll be some more. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Sounds good.
All right.
That's great meeting you guys. Have a good one.
So, yeah, so I think it's absolutely appropriate and expected to get this out to your communities
But
to
what are
make
we
sure
tell them exactly?
if they're considering a request for spirit money to fill out the survey. So in the survey, one of the questions is, what's the stage of your project? Is it in contemplation? Is it in research? Are
Is there a
we
link to
ready?
the survey?
Mhm.
And can it be done by the end of 26? It's on the Winnebago County website.
Yes.
So where we went the first time, the
Okay.
very first, should be the first link.
It is. So Winnebago County WI.gov. On the left-hand side are these forms that I printed out, the framework in the government planning document.
Oh, I see, right.
Yep, and there's a link for
Oh,
spirit
perfect.
survey.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Oh, well, this gives me everything that I would need.
Has anybody talked to the community foundations to say, you know, if there are community impact dollars that are out there that need funds, do they know that this is an option?
well, Tim Galloway's on the Spirit Commission and he has been, so that was kind of, I think that was the reason that
Okay.
John Damo appointed Tim, because he was from the Neenah area, but also representing the community foundation to make sure that,
They know.
yeah. Great.
But the Fox Cities Community Foundation services Neenah and Asha.
They do. So I've
And parts of
included
Winter.
Kurt and Julie Keller, and there's a number of individuals that are on our funders. I mean, I let Amy Putzer from Oshkosh because she has that rural area. So as much as I could in connections, at least for the funders, because they're the ones who are hearing, paying matching funds, or I'm applying for this, or they're hearing through the different projects so that they can encourage others to, and that was in my messaging, was really just, please encourage others to fill out the survey, so we know what's going on. So it isn't a, hey, we made all these sweeping decisions, but, oh, we missed this whole area that could have been improved by this. That's my fear. What it feels like is being rushed, where people are saying, hurry up and spend the money. Great, we're gonna hurry up and spend the money, but now we're gonna miss a whole part of
Absolutely.
our community that's not gonna be
I'm
served.
stunned that the very passionate man from the pickleball association or club or whatever didn't have a
And
proposal.
he stayed, so he heard, here's where you go, here's the.
Right.
Now, if it's part of the Parks Department, maybe somebody from the Parks Department has reached out to him and said, oh, let's talk about this, and maybe he isn't putting a proposal in because maybe it's on this more government function.
Sure.
But it could certainly come through us, and if he's talking about doing it on current tennis courts within the park, then we could fill out all the stuff. But say this might be then let's bring in the Parks Department head to see if it's appropriate for them to.
Right.
Kind of help write the proposal or
I'm,
resolution.
like I said, I'm just shocked it wasn't there.
Yeah. Unless so this, they sent me everything on the 20th, so I think this is everything that came through July 19th.
Okay.
So, when was our meeting? 2 weeks. He might not have enough information. I mean, yes, he's very passionate, but how much is it gonna cost? Who's gonna help maintain? And I think that's part of the problem is, if it's gonna be in the parks, well, how's it gonna be maintained? Now, where's that money coming from for maintenance? So it probably has a deeper impact than these. So please encourage people to fill it out.
Yeah.
With the projects.
The other one was Damascus Road. She was very passionate too.
Mm-hmm. Right, so community center was in there, who was, did she speak? She spoke before.
No,
Yes.
she.
Did she speak at the Spirit Commission meeting? Okay. I knew she spoke at one. I couldn't remember what was the one that you guys did.
So Beth, if you weren't associated with this project at all, but just as the CEO of United Way of Oshkosh, you would have received some type of communication about this? Sam, I'm just wondering, maybe.
I don't.
So I'm wondering like.
In the newspaper, maybe?
Oh, really? So
I
like,
don't know.
like
I'm not sure who is.
So Christine, and did they receive something?
Through communications, so I sent to anybody that I had information on, just a general, here's where you apply, here's the information. Here's where to submit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just wondering, like the CEO of Peter, however you say his last name.
Oh, Giannopoulos? Yes,
like,
he's on the funding.
So he would have seen this.
Yes, because
Okay.
because I
So then
sent
he
that
could
out
have
to
sent
all
that
the
to the-
funding, all the funders.
Okay.
Yep,
okay.
anybody who is a funder specific for Winnebago County, that is part of our funding, but I mean, it's probably 50 different, from JJ Keller to US Venture to Reinhardt Foods.
Oh, so
that's-
like Kimberly, but Casey cares.
Laura was on that.
Okay, well,
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
If I wasn't, I don't know if that would go out. If anybody else in the group would have sent that out, because I don't think anybody else in that group was part of the funder program, but I think that was John's hope, was to get somebody who is. So maybe if it wasn't me, it'd be Rachel, that would be on the commission, or on the Spirit Commission. So his hope was to get somebody who was connected with the funders.
Yeah, so I mean, I just wonder, like, does the Boys and Girls Brigade need to get this? Yeah, it only was forwarded probably from
So
Peter G.
I guess what I see is a phone call to the Boys and Girls Brigade.
Yeah,
Brigade
to
say,
encourage if they have it.
do you know?
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
there's so many, I mean, I'm just thinking all of them.
Right.
You know,
But there could be that don't have a capital project,
Yeah.
they need programmatic, or. Is there a capital campaign for Boys and Girls Brigade?
Oh,
I don't know, yeah, so maybe if they aren't doing any
Yeah.
capital improvements, maybe they wouldn't.
right, right.
So that could be it too, because people read this and said, we just don't fit.
Yeah,
Well, and like with the Boys and Girls Club and their programming, I can only assume that if I was a county supervisor and there was a bunch of money left over, rather than sending it back or whatever they're supposed to do with what is not spent, then would they turn around and fund those? This money's got to go out, right? Or are they gonna do another cycle
The
next year?
money the ARPA requirements have been satisfied. So with the federal government, the ARPA requirements have been satisfied. So the 33 million stays in Winnebago County.
And sits there to
Do whatever. So that's why so then the 33 million was put into whatever fund. The requirements and the mathematical equation was satisfied and filed with the federal government. And now the county is saying, we want to use this money in the spirit of ARPA. So even though it could just sit in the general fund or whatever fund it is, and just be part of their operating cash or go to wherever. So
that's
that
very
is,
interesting. I didn't know that.
yeah. So that's also, I
Did
think,
you know
why some of the struggles were, the county is trying to come up with what the parameters are on how to spend it, because the federal government has been satisfied with their requirements.
Very interesting.
So there are people very passionate about it needs to go here and passionate about it going other places, and that's there's a struggle, because now internally we're trying to come up with parameters rather than saying, well, the federal government says this is the only way we can spend it, because now it's the counties. I mean, there's still, I'm oversimplifying, but it's basically the county's money to determine how to spend it.
well, I'm gonna give Peter G a call and just ask him if he's communicated this to all the agencies that their United Way supports in Winnebago County, making sure he understands that it's just the Winnebago portion of the 5 cities.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that, and make sure he's got the link and can send it to, Youth Bill, whoever, I mean, that they all have an opportunity to at least.
And Go ADC knows about it, and everybody knows about it.
I do know Go EDC knows about it. I don't know Greater Oshkosh, so I don't know. Is there something like that in MENA, like an economic development?
Yeah, there's what do they call it? MENA for future.
Future MENA.
Yeah.
And they know about it.
I don't know.
That I don't know. I don't have any connections there.
I do. You have connections there?
No, but if you.
I can walk over there and talk.
Yeah, you want to do that? I'll talk to Peter G. If you can talk to the future.
And I'm gonna talk to the new village administrator in Winnebago, because I see nothing from Winnebago. And he's brand new. I mean, he was just introduced, I think he started 2 weeks ago. So yes, does he know? Did he see? He
started 2 weeks ago.
He started very short time. But he's got administrators on the village board that can help him or do it or something. But Winnebago's a big gap here. I don't see anything.
Yeah.
So what happens after August 4th? I mean, it says it's only available August 4th.
Well, we put a close date because I didn't know if we were gonna get 20 or 200.
Okay.
So at least
So we could extend it.
Well, I suppose we could. It really is just an assessment survey, but at some point we've got to be able to, so August 10th is the next Spirit Commission meeting. So the hope was to gather all these by the next Spirit meeting to be able to say, here's what we found, here's the scope of projects, here's who it's surveying. All this information, here's where to us, it feels like these fit within the parameters, these did not. And then kind of Spirit Commission, what do you want to do next?
Just from a public comment at the Spirit Commission, and I've only been to one, you've been to many. would you have expected a lot more? I expected more.
Not necessarily, because since last October, we've had individuals coming in talking about their projects, and Christine Ann came in, Damascus Road came in. Lots of different projects have come in and spoken that public comment piece at that Spirit Commission. I think there's just been a lot of confusion on what are we supposed to do? Because the date has moved so many times,
Right.
and the targets have moved.
Sure.
So, okay,
Yeah.
Fair enough.
it wouldn't surprise me if people are just kind of waiting until the end
Mhm.
to like, well, I mean, they can.
Well,
now-
the due date's August 4th.
Yeah.
You know,
They
that's when things show up. You know?
Sure.
Yeah.
So they can watch these, see what how we're scoring.
And still put an application in after that? Or do they have to go through this process to get to the next?
They would have to, this right now,
Step.
yeah. So if we come to a point where we want more information, we need to determine an application. So, all right, Cass. All right. I'm gonna call the meeting, adjourn the meeting.